Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Metzia daf Nun Hey. We are going to begin on Nun Daled Amud Beis, about 10 lines from the bottom. We were learning in yesterday's daf the din of chaimish, whether or not it has the same dinim as the principle itself. Tani Tana Kamei Rabbi Eliezer. So we learn the following based on the pasuk. Ve'im behema hatameya. If, let's say, we're dealing with an impure animal, upada be'erkacha, and then you redeem it based on its value. So Rashi says, havil michtav, it could have just said v'im behema tameya, not v'im ba behema tameya. So why does it have that extra words? So Rashi says, hachikamer, bekdei shehein kibehema tameya kamerlach, krav yosef chamishasar. Just like any impure animal, muchedes, that it's specific, shitchilasa hektish, the kula shemayim, that initially, when you're makdish it, of course it's hektish, and its entirety is to shemayim, says Rashi, shein lo balim bo klum, that the owner has no connection to it, it's not his. The stam hektish behema tameya, lebedeka biasi, because even though you can't bring it on the mizbeach, but it does have value in that its lebedeka bias can be used, its value for the upkeeps of the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore because of that, umu'alin ba, if a person uses this, then there will be a din me'ila. And Rashi says in the Havamina we think me'ila mamish gaimer, that we're mamish talking about me'ila. We'll have to understand how that may not necessarily play out. So avkol shedechilasa hektish. So too when it comes to any matter in which it initially is hektish, the kula shemayim, and that the owner has no connection to it, mu'alin bodadin mi'ila. So that's the drasha. So Amrulei Reb Elazar Latana Bishul Mekul Shemayim. I understand when you say that this animal which is tameh, which is hektish, is totally l'shemayim to bedek abayis lemuti kadashim kalim. So what is kachim kalim? Kivandi islu balim begavayu. When it comes to kachim kalim, like shlomim, bechor, meiser, behema. So according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, he holds that's mammon ba'ilim, or certainly there is some connection to the owner. He has rights to certain parts of it. So therefore, leisel behu mi'ila. So there's no din mi'ila on kachim kalim. So therefore, the only time there's a din me'ila is on kachim kadashim, like for example, an oila, chatas, ela, tchilas, hektish, lemuti mai. What does that exactly that come to exclude? Tchilas, hektish, hu de ispe me'ila. So we're saying that only at the initial hektish, when it's the original status, which is mashma sov hektish, you transferred it to hektish, leispe me'ila, then there's not going to be me'ila, which is kind of hard to understand. Why would we say that? You would think that once you transfer the kedusha of a behema tameya onto another animal or something else, so there should be me'ila now on that. What does that mean? So dimel inyan chaimish ka'amrit. Maybe what's come to tell you is that it's not talking about me'ila on the thing itself, because of course there would still be me'ila on if we're dealing with a carbon. So what does it mean, tchilaso hektish? It doesn't mean that when you transfer the actual Karen onto something else that there wouldn't be me'ila, but it means the extra fifth, there isn't going to be chaim. There's not going to be a din me'ila. And we're going to say that it's like him, and therefore the din is there's no din me'ila and chaimish. So therefore we see there's a distinction between me'ila when it comes to the principle and the chaimish. So in Hachik Kamin, this is what it means. Amur Ramashu Ravina Behema Tameya Batchilas Hektish, when it's originally Hektish, Esau's, we continue to Nun Hamad Aleph, Be'emsa Hektish Leisa. What does that mean? It says Rashi, and he granted the Besov Hektish, Mishkachas La Mishum Delav Mizbech. I can understand it's not fit to be brought on the Mizbech because it's Tameh, Mihu, Behektish Sheni, Mishkachas La, Shematfisa tachas acher v'chayzu poida isa. Understand that when you redeem it onto something else, so then it is something which is fit to be brought in the mizbeach. So Amalei, Avishein b'seif hektish. So it means shein b'soif hektish. Mishum hachi amid etzma hektish mina. Therefore, even the middle area is also considered to not have the din of me'ilah. Normally, Rav Ha'acha mediftu ravina be'emsa hektish mia isa. That be'emsa their taka is me'ilah. V'oisif nami chemish. And you also have to add chemish onto it. Normally, hari hu kasev hektish, masav hektish, and a moisav chemish, av etzma hektish, and a moisav chemish. So we say that when it comes to sev hektish, you don't moisav chemish. So also by emsa in the middle, you also don't. Normally, Razuchi Beridu Rav Maru Ravina, my cause is to medamas leil sev hektish, nidmei chilos hektish. Why would we say that it's like sev hektish that you don't add chemish? Maybe the middle is compared to the tchilas hektish that you are moisel chaimish. Why do you compare the middle to the end, not the middle to the beginning? It's better to compare it to the end. Shekain nitvas minitvas, because they're both considered transfers, because it's a transfer onto a transfer, as opposed to tchilas hektish, which in itself is the starting point. Maybe it's better to compare it to the beginning. They were dealing with something which there's kedusha after it to kedusha after it, as opposed to sof, which is the end, so there's nothing after it. So the answer is, so again, why should we compare to the end compared to the beginning? So Kediyam Rava is based on the pasuk ha'oyla. So the fact that it says ha'oyla, oil rishayna, hachanami hatameya, tameya rishayna, says Rashi. Kalerma behedya emiyat emtsa hektish mina. We actually have it from the pasuk itself that excludes not just sof hektish, but also emtsa hektish, the middle. Kediyam Rava b'seder Yomi, because it says ha'oyla when it comes to the Seder Hamaracha, about setting up the different pyres of fire on the Mizbech HaChitzoin, it says that he's supposed to kindle the fire in the morning, and then you're supposed to bring up the oila, which is the oilas os boiker, the Tomid Shel Shachar. Hey Yisera Darsh the Hey He Rishayna, should they Hector Koidim with Tomid Shel Shachar. It's coming to tell you that that's first, that the Hakatira should not come before the Tomid Shel Shachar. Just telling you that that's the first thing you're supposed to do. So to over here, the Hey is telling you that Dafka, the din of Chaimish, is Dafka the first time. However, not from this, and the Emsa, from the second redemption, then there's no more being Mois of Chaimish in that case. Para zu tachas para shel hektish. If a person takes this cow instead of a par of hektish, so he's transferring the kedusha, or tal zu tachas tal shel hektish, hektishu piduye. So it's a good pigeon, it's a good transferring. Viad hektish al yoina, and the hand of hektish, they have the upper hand. What does that mean? Par zu b'chamish salayim tachas par shel hektish. So let's say it's 5 saloim, and he transferred to that another. Talosu b'chamish saloim tachas talos shel hektish. Hektish yipoida piduya al hektish. Rishain moisav chaimish al hektish sheni in moisav chaimish. So you see my parish, they're only moisav chaimish on the first, not the second. Says Rashi, miu yad hektish al yoina. The hand of hektish, they have the upper hand. Shem damahu yaserim al demei hektish. If the money is more than the value of the hektish, kana hektish, they're kind of the hektish. V'im hektish yaser lehim yashim al karchai. So whatever is more, so they're able to always get the more. So on this, what does it mean 5 solaim? It says alpha pi shinu shava. Even if it's not even worth that amount, it doesn't make a difference. It's still considered to be a good pigeon. It's still a good redemption. Okay. Good. All right, let's continue to the next Mishnah. Unless we find a question here. No, question TA 11. Great. Parazu tachas partial hektish. Hekdishu piduya viad hektish al yoina. Ma bir yad hektish al yoina. So what does that mean? So we just said it, and it's only Rashi. So let's see this. TA 11. So let's see how he consolidates Rashi. Im dime hachulin yiserim, if the value of the chulin money is more al dime hektish, kana hektish. It doesn't make a difference. It's still kaina, even though there's more dime chulin. V'im hektish yasalehim yashlim. If the hektish is more, then they get the difference. So again, in either situation, they're going to be able to be reimbursed that which is more. Okay, all right. Let's continue. Says the next mission. Says the Masisa ha'ina arba kesef. So the din of ona is 4 ma kesef, and on this Rashi says al mekach selo kid amrin dahavi leishtos. So 4 of 24. Again, there was a 3-way machlokas over there, but this apparently is just a repetition. We'll understand why it has to say it again. V'tainam shtei kesef v'hoida shava pruta. So when it comes to the din of moedim mixas taina, you admit something and you deny something, and then there's a chiyuv deraisa to make a shvua, which is a taina of a moedim mixas taina. So if the claim has to be at least shtei kesef, and you have to at least admit that you paid something, that you paid a pruta, and therefore only there will you be chayiv. Only there will you be chayiv to have to make a shvua. However, if you denied less than a pruta, then not. And the hoidal must be at least 2 shtei kesef. Okay, fine. So then the Mishnah continues. Chamish prutosein. This is just a general piece that there's 5 places in halacha where we find the din of a pruta, and a lot of them are pretty common. We've seen them throughout Shas. Haida shava pruta. So first of all, as we just said, when it comes to moed mixas ataina, you at least have to admit that you gave a pruta. Otherwise, you're not chayav shvua. Vayish miskadesh shava pruta. For a woman for it to be a kedushin, at least according to Beis Hillel, you have to give a pruta. Of course, the beginning of Masechtas Kedushin says Beis Shammai holds it to dinner. V'hanehena b'shava pruta menehetish moil. In order to be chayiv me'ila, you have to have used hektish, but it has to at least be a pruta. V'hamoitzi shava pruta chayiv l'chachris. So this is back in El Metzias, a nice parak, if you remember it, that you find an object which is at least a pruta, then you have to announce it, which is mashma pachas b'shava pruta. You don't have to do that, as the Rashi reminds us, because it says asher toivad mimenu prat lavedu shen b'shava pruta, so it's a gezeres hakosav. V'goizel is chaver shava pruta. If a person steals from his friend, v'nishmaloi, and he makes a shvua against it, yolichenu achar b'afil l'madai. So the din is, since he made a shvua, he has to go all the way to madai to return it. So that's the din. Instead of just, let's say, depositing it in the beis din and that's it, since he made a shvua, so in that situation it was a shvua sheker. So the din is that he would actually mamash have to return it to the person, even if he's far away. But it has to be at least it was a proof. Says the Gemara. Tani chada, tanina chada zim. We already learned this previously in this parak. Ha'ino arba kesef me'esim v'yarba kesef l'sel shtos mekach. We learned it was a 4-24 ratio, which is 1/6. So what does the Mishnah say this? It says, you're right, there is no chiddush in that, but we're introducing the notion of these numbers. We needed to mention this din of moed mixas taina that has to be lishtei kesef, and the admission has to be lishtei pruta. Well, that's been learned elsewhere too. When it comes to the chiyuv of making a shvua, hataynish dekes v'hoida shava pruta. It says beferish. Okay, I guess we don't need that either. But seifat tzrichalei. The Gatani chamish pruto saying that there's 5 different situations, and not all of them are necessarily. They're certainly not all coupled together, even though we've learned a lot of these dinim in different places. Chamish pruto saying v'chul. So listei nami hoina pruta. Why don't we also mention the notion of ona to a pruta? If, let's say, it's a 6-to-1 ratio, so it's got to be at least that the ona is a pruta. So Rav Kahana zoysemer saying no prutais. Actually, when it comes to these copper coins, there's no din of ona. Says Rashi, But pachas me'isr shumat be'ashel kesef, anything less than an isser, which is a copper coin, there's no din or not. Matbeh shel kesef. When it comes to an isser, is silver. However, it's not anything less than that because they're copper coins. So therefore, it's not even the cutoff point isn't even a pruta. V'levi oimer yesh ono laprutais. He actually says there is. V'chein tanu levi m'mastisa chamish prutas hein. There's 5 cases. Hona pruta. So we see taka. There is an opinion that there is a din of a pruta, even though it's a copper coin. So we see that there is an opinion that says that should be included, but other things obviously are going to be excluded. The ha'ida pruta, again, admission is of when a mixas is a pruta. The kedusha isha b'pruta, the gezel b'pruta, the yeshivas hadayanim b'pruta. Says Rashi, miyishesh lo edim. We have witnesses. O shechayev moide. V'doichehu m'lashalim. You push off from paying. Yeshiva hadayanim, so the judges will come. The yechayev also, and they're going to force them to pay. So basically, you have a situation where a person has to pay. So when this happens, the dayanim are going to only really get involved if the amount is a pruta. So Vatana Didan, our Tan of our Mishnah, my Tam Lokatani Yeshivas Hadayanim. Why does he mention that case? So Tani Gezel already mentioned stealing. It says Rashi, Mekivan de Tani Gezel Bepruta, Shmamina Memoinahu Vikafinan. It already mentions the notion about stealing. So fine. Umilo Tani Gezel Vikatani Aveda. So understand, mentions a lost object. So Hanach Tzrichale. Gezel Hagoizel Mechaver Sheberpruta. A person steals from his friend. Venishbalo Yoichenu Achrav Vafilo Modai. So in that situation, you have to return it all the way wherever he is. Aveda, when it comes to a lost object, Hamaitse Aveda, a person who finds it, Sheberpruta Chayvel Hachras. The Afka of the Zoil, the Chiddush is, even if it went down in value. Says Rashi, Bein Metzia L'Hachraza. So let's say it was a pruta, when you found it, and then it went down in value, and let's say it went back up to a pruta after it was announced. So that's what it's coming to tell you. V'levi my time loitani aveda. Why does he mention aveda b'pruta? So tani le gezel, because he already mentions gezel. Amilo katani gezel katani yeshivas hadayanim. He mentions both of them. So it seems like they're both stealing. Yeshivas hadayanim esrichle lafukim nerav katina. Maybe it's because we need to teach this chiddush of yeshivas hadayanim because it excludes the din of Rav Katina. Who's that? The Rav Katina based this kokum filipachas m'shever pruta. That there are times that a beis din is still mechuyev to engage even when we're dealing with pachas m'shever pruta. So it's actually a machlokus when it comes to yeshivas hadayanim. V'levi ma'atem lo katani hektish. So why does he mention the case of hektish? That there's a din me'ila. So b'chulin kamayri, behektish lo kamayri. I only mentioned it's true that there's a din of a pruta dafka by hektish. It's got to be a pruta, but we're not talking about dinim of hektish. We're talking about chulin. We're talking about regular matters, not holy matters. Elatandi dedan de kamayri b'kadashim. Our Tana does mention kashim, so nisni meiser bepruta. So why does he mention meiser? Says Rashi, the batzim hachi will toughest b'yainai. Less than that, you can't redeem. If you have meiser sheni, you saw this a couple dafim ago. The question is that the principal, or even the chaimish, which means it has to be 4 plus the 1, that it has to be at least be a pruta. Kamandi armer ein b'chaim shel pruta. So the 5th, you add on must be a pruta. That's what it's come to tell you. Therefore, there's an opinion that you actually are required not just a pruta by meiser to be pointed, but the chaimish has to be. Okay, so velisni chaimish meiser b'pruta. So still, that's a case of a pruta. So mention that. No, but karnik kamayri b'chaimish el kamayri. We're talking about the karen and not the chaimish. And therefore, the karen, there's no din of a pruta. You need a lot more than that when it comes to redeeming meiser sheni. It has to be enough that the chaimish is a karen, is a pruta. Gufa Amar Rav Katina based in this kalkin of pachas m'shever pruta. So we said, according to the din of Rav Katina, even if it's pachas m'shever pruta, the basin still has to be engaged. So Meisiv Rava, he asked a question. The pasuk says the ace, and this extra word will be a drasha. Ve'es asher chata min hakodesh yishalem. Those who sinned regarding that which is holy will have to pay. So what is the ace? The S is tafel, which usually comes to include something. As we continue Nun Haim Beis, Rabbos Pachas M'Shavar Prutal Hishalman. It comes to tell you that even if it's Pachas M'Shavar Prutal, there's still a chiyuv of returning it. Rashi says ve'es dorish the whole esin v'gamin ribuyin. Whenever it says gam or s, those are extra words as a riboy. L'kaidish in, but that's only when it comes to dinim of kaidish of lahedjit lo, not when it comes to hedjit. So therefore, it's not true. Only when it comes to the dinim of kakdish will we say the Beis Din has to intervene. However, now when it comes to chulin matters, el ian mar hachim or omer rav katina nim husku Beis Din l'shava pruta. If let's say they were already involved in a court case and initially it was a pruta, they'll continue even if let's say it goes down, but they started when it was a pruta. So tchilas hadin be'inan pruta. The beginning needs a pruta. Gemar din will be in pruta. However, the Gemar din does not. Question 1. Heichem shkachasla yeshivas dayanim al pachais misheva pruta. So one could be for hektish or the Gemar din. Shechaz v'tava pachais misheva pruta konim shamdu b'din. Okay. So in that situation, we're going to talk about counterclaims. There would be pachas misheva pruta. Okay. Let's see if there's another question here. Question TB12. Hamoyo b'pachas misheva pruta im chayim v'karen b'chayim misheva asham. Hamoyo b'pachas misheva pruta. Okay. So this is what I wrote. Im maschil b'tchilas hadin afil ein afil sheva pruta. O im ze hektish oz chayiv of a pachas misheva pruta of a l'chulin v'tchilas din in meila pachas misheva pruta. So that's, I think, what I was thinking is what the answer was, and I'll just assume that is true. Okay. Oh, this is talking about the case of tchilas hadayanim. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. It says the Mastisim, Chamisha Chumshin here. So we mentioned 5 cases of pruta, and now we're going to mention 5 cases where there's a chiyuv of adding a chaimish, an extra 5th. So the Mishnah says, here are they. Truma, so a person who eats truma, of course we're talking about a non-kohen, a zar, and he eats it b'shoigeg, and this is actually referring to truma gedoyla, which is the 2% that is taken off and given to the kohen. So that's what we're referring to when we say truma in this context. Trumas meiser, when we're talking about trumas meiser, which is also known as meiser min meiser, so you have meiser rishon, which the Yisrael gives 10% to the Levi, and the Levi in turn takes off 10% of that and gives it to the kohen, which is called trumas meiser. So you have to be meiser chaimish on that if a non-kohen ate that. Trumas meiser shel damai. Also, when it comes to damai, in which you purchase from an Amaretz, we're always concerned that perhaps he didn't separate. Says Rashi, Truma Gedoyla Shel Damai Leika, the Loi Chivuhu Chachamim Mahafresh Kamin Masaitel Afi Shashal Chachol Gvul Eretz Yisrael, V'rosh Shelo Hay Mafrishan El Truma Gedoyla Bavad, Alma Mazihirin Hayuba. When it comes to Truma Gedoyla, for some reason, that 1/50th, that 2%, that they take off. The Truma Gedoyla are not Chayshish of Damai. However, when it comes to Trumas Meiser min meiser, we're concerned, and therefore you do have to separate. And therefore, if you ate that, even though it was from Damai, you're still going to be chaimish. Also, the din of challah, which is separate and give it to the kohen, that'll be korban. Mois of chaimish, in all these cases, you had a 5th. Okay. So that's actually one situation, and then you have a poidin net the Rabbi. When it comes to the 4th year, if you wish to redeem it, similar to Meiser Sheni, net the Rabbi, so you can redeem it also onto money. However, when you do so, you have to be Moisav Chaimish. Meiser Sheni Shaloi Moisav Chaimish. And Shalo Moisav Chaimish. If it's your Meiser Sheni as opposed to someone else's, then you have to be Moisav Chaimish. And there's different tricks. You can give it to someone else, and they don't have to be Moisav Chaimish. Kapoides Hekdesha Moisav Chaimish. If you are paid a hektish, you also have to add a chaimish. Hanehena shavaprutim and a hektish was a chaimish. So if you get hana, so in addition to the din of meila and having an asher meilos, there's also a din achiv of chaimish. Geisel es chavera shavapruta v'nishma mois of chaimish. So if you steal, there's a chiyuv of Karen, return the object. Peshav is a gazel sher gozel. However, if we're dealing with a situation where you're nishba and you're lying and then you're hoida, then you also have to add a chaimish. Says Gemara, Omer Rava. I just look at question 2. Chamisha chumshin hein elu hein. Straight Mishnah. Oichel truma trumas meiser v'chulu poida meiser sheni poida hektish nehena behektish gozam nishmal shaker. Okay, it's clean Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Omer Rava kasha leilu Rabbi Elazar. So I have a question to Rabbi Elazar. Our Mishnah, says Rashi, Mishnah says kashal Rabbi Elazar ben Padas. Our Mishnah is going to be problematic. Trumas meiser shel demai. So one of the cases where you have to add a chaimish is when we're dealing with trumas meiser, that you as a non-Kohen ate this meiser and a meiser, and it was from demai. It was from demai. I understand why are we going to add a chaimish, which we said before you're not meiser chaimish when it comes to demai. So and because it's only din d'Rabbanan. So then why are we going to require chaimish to be done when it comes to eating the trumas meiser of demai? So Omer Rav Nachman, Omer Shmuel, Haman Ramerhi. There were also that sometimes we are strict, and we do require, because technically we think the whole separation of demai is only in the midrabanan. So why is it so strict to make you add the 5th? So according to the sheet of Ramer, Taka does hold that it's a chiyuv to do so. The sign maybe give him a person did everything right. He brings a get from another country to Migarish, his wife, and he uses a shliach to do so. So Nasna law was given to her properly. However, the aid just didn't say the right things. And Rashi reminds us the Machlokas Rav and Rab in the beginning of Masechtas Gittin, either Lefisha and Bekin Lashma or in Makaimoi. So those are the basic 2 reasons as to why you have to say these things. Either because maybe the place they're not experts in Lashma, so you have to make sure that you said it was written for this person's sake. Or there's not Edom Matsuyim Makaimoi, there's not witnesses that are easy to verify it. So according to Rab Meir, he says Yoitzi, if she got married through this get, she must get leave. If she had a child, then we call that child a mamzer, even though it looks like it was a good get. So what you do, you have to let him so just redo it, and that's it. Now, Rameir, is it possible that Rameir actually holds like that? Yes. Rameir, he says, if you have a person that deviates from literally the mintage, the coin, the way that the Chamim instituted brachos or dinim of gittin in this case, then the child is a mamzer. Your person is not allowed to go against what the chachamim are. Now, even though it's really a din d'Rabbanan, right? These are fanei is like concerns, but the get was midaraisa was good. But nonetheless, according to Rameir, also chachamim chizik l'dvarim kishul Torah, and therefore, so too when it comes to this situation, when it comes to demai, you have to be moisav chaimish if you ate the trumas meiser. So meisav Rav Sheshes. So it says that you have to be mechalel, if a person's mechal kesef onto kesef nechayshes, onto copper, al nechayshes kesef. Okay, mechalon oiso kesef al kesef, nechayshes al nechayshes. So what does that mean? Rashi says the gabi meiser sheni shel demai katani. Well, it says mamish by demai. That you can mechal money, silver onto silver, nechayshes onto nechayshes, copper to copper, kesef al nechayshes, silver onto copper, nechayshes al peros, copper onto fruit. V'yachsor, then you have to go back. V'yivdas a peros, and you have to put it back onto the money before going to Yerushalayim. Divrei Meir. Now, what is this talking about? It says Rashi. V'yachsor v'yivdas aperos, you have to redeem it and put it back onto the money. V'yala hakesef Yerushalayim, then you bring the money, because it says v'starta kesef. So even though you took nechayshes and you redeemed it onto fruits, So now you have to, before you take those fruits have to go back onto money. No, you can actually bring the fruits and eat those fruits in Yerushalayim. You don't have to put them back onto the money. Says Rashi, we're lenient, even though it was already money onto fruit, so then you shouldn't then be able to bring the fruit, Meiser Sheni fruit you can bring to Yerushalayim. But the problem is that you took it was already redeemed onto money, then you redeemed it back to the fruit. So then the question is, this is not really the same original Meiser Sheni fruit, and therefore Machlokas is whether you have to put it back onto money before you go into Yerushalayim. So where it says, a different question. It says we allow you to redeem silver onto copper. But Tanan, Sela Shel Meiser Sheni V'Shel Chulin. If you have a Sela, a coin of Meiser Sheni in Chulin, Shnis Arvu, they got all mixed up together. It says Rashi V'Ratzli Hanos V'Shel Chulin, and obviously you want to use the one coin only, which is of Chulin. But how do you do that? Because in it is a Meiser Sheni coin. So what do? Maybe Masela Mois. So you should bring money. V'Omer. So you should say, again, you have these two coins, I don't know which one it is, so you take other money, you say whichever one is the right coin, it will transfer the Kedusha onto that other coin. And choose the nicer coin, and that one will consider to be a higher value, that you should therefore have a coin of what you're dreaming on should be more expensive, because we could maybe assume that the one that was mixed in, which is not of higher quality, was really the Meiser Sheni one. And that's how you should do so. So we continue Nun Bava and Aleph. Why? Says Rashi, you have to redeem it onto money. So back in the Gemara, you can mechal silver onto copper, not that it should stay that way, but it actually has to go back to silver. So we see that you're really not supposed to keep it on copper, but you have to eventually, you could do it momentarily, but then it has to go back into silver. You can only do it under extreme circumstances. Says Rashi Hilkach, lo shekayim kain, you can't keep it as copper, shebezayin meiserhu, because it's a bezayin. Vo shaprutos machalidos, because copper erodes faster than silver. So therefore, we see that you should not be able to redeem kesef onto copper. Even we said you could do it only b'doichik. So Rabbi Yosef Alpha Bishemeko Rameir B'Pidyono, it's true. When it comes to redeeming silver onto copper, he may be true, they strict. With regarding to being to be poida, he is machmer, as we just saw above. Machmer hu b'chilaso, he is machmer when it comes to eating. Says Rashi, shel meiser sheni shel demai mastisin b'chilokoi. Desanya lo hitiru limchor demai. That you're only allowed to sell demai only to wholesalers. Rameir says that no matter what, you have to separate. Says Rashi, you can sell it to him even without taking off the maestros. When you send it to your friend, and you can give it to your friend, and you don't have to be concerned that maybe it was not taken off. So Rameir is machmir by eating demai as regular grains. It is treated as a deraisa, but not by pidyon, only by achila. So therefore, that's the answer. There's a chiluk between achila and pidyon. Question 3. Okay, so we saw this either because it's a bezayin to Meiser Sheni. So when it comes to, again, pidyon, what do we see? He's mach. So alpha shemeko rameir bepidyono machmerhu b'chilasai. So in this case above is talking about for him to be able to eat, and therefore that's why he's strict. So either because it's a bizayon to meiser sheni, redeeming it onto copper, from silver to copper, or because that the copper machlidos, there is erosion potentially that can happen, or rust on these types of coins. Okay. TB 13 Adkan.